All right. So, welcome everyone to the CF On K8s Working Group Forum. I have pasted a link to the document in the chat. I'll do that again for anyone else that's joining. Add topics in there that you like to discuss. And you can also paste them into chat and I can add them in. But we'll just take a few minutes to allow people to add entries. And we'll get started on discussing anything, and then we can sort of have a open floor and go from there. All right, looks like it's slowing down a little bit on adding topics, but feel free to add them if you think of anything as we go along. So let's just get started with the first one. Project name, question mark.
Yeah, Eric and I were chatting last week, and especially given the CF 4K8s and CF On K8s kind of similarity there, thought it would be good to start maybe brainstorming for what a new Cloud Foundry on Kubernetes project could be called once it's promoted, which is probably going to be fairly soon. So we started a just sort of brainstorming doc. I'll drop that in the chat and I'll put it also in the notes here. And obviously, like you all to sort of take the lead on brainstorming and narrowing down this list maybe, and then the TOC could have some input, and then maybe the governing board as well, since this will be kind of a major thing that I think is promoted this year. So yeah, a lot of different things it could be called. Definitely curious as to what you all might think. Most of the topics on this list are, silly, but that's what brainstorming is like. Yeah. So just curious what you all might be, if you all have thought about this much already, or how you want to approach maybe reaching a final name for this.
I think we're pretty much in just the brainstorming phase.
Yeah.
Haven't really thought about the mechanics of actually whittling it down and arriving on a name, but I assume we'll probably have a few that we think sound decent, and then maybe we'll gather feedback, drop it in some Slack channel or something, and sort of see what resonates with people. Maybe put up a poll, something to that effect. I'm just kind of guessing here. As I said, we haven't really discussed it too much.
Right.
But then we'd also need to think about, with the name of a project, do we want to realign the repo with that? Right now it's called CF K8s controllers. Do we want to rename the repo?
That's a good question.
Or just point it at that repo and say, hey, the project name is this. But so there's also some mechanical bits that we probably need to figure out.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I would say there's a bit of some urgency here, only in that once the initial release is cut, we'll want to promote this pretty quickly, and we should have a name by then. So, wouldn't want to hold up a release because of the name. On the other hand, naming things is difficult and, somewhat important. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing what everyone thinks.
Certainly could promote it as one of the topics for the next meeting in 2 weeks, to like actually put a word out there saying like, hey, here's the document, here's a bunch of names, we would like to settle on something, please come help us figure that out.
Yeah, if in 2 weeks we have a short list, I think that's great.
Cool. Anyone else have thoughts they want to?
I was wondering if we want to do some sort of voting, do we want this to be a vote open to everyone? Do we want this to be a vote open only to the contributors? And how do we achieve that? As we could use GitHub, because on GitHub, like I can see who's voted, so I can just exclude the votes from people I don't recognize, or Slack or something like that. But yeah, we do need a short list. Like even getting to the short list is tricky, or unless we vote on the long list instead. And let the good stuff just bubble up. Like, I expect that like a few proposals would just bubble up, or there's the risk that the votes go completely diluted. And then that's a problem. We don't want something to win by 3 votes versus 2 or something. Tricky stuff, democracy.
Yeah. I mean, for the next few days or however long, I think people could just keep adding to the list, just keep brainstorming, thinking about it, taking inspiration from what's there already, or coming up with something totally new. And then we could do kind of you put a star or something next to a repository, next to a title if you like that, and then anything that's got a star next to it, okay, well that probably cuts out half of them won't get stars, whatever. And then try and figure out some way to get down to a manageable list of 5 or whatever, and then I'm not sure about the final process there, but
yeah, one initial pass probably would be looking at the list of names and figuring out what is easily pronounceable, because if it's difficult to pronounce, it's probably going to be not something people want to talk about.
Yeah, it needs to be easy to Google as well. And I would assume also it needs to be different from anything that's already been used. Like
yeah, we need to check trademark.
Yeah, like there's many projects who actually reuse names, and it's annoying, and we should avoid it. But
or they use
there's
really
also so
small
many
names,
which are impossible to. Yeah.
I mean, are there any on this list that we feel like we could make a case for just striking out to kind of winnow as we go, instead of getting a list of 500 candidates and then having to sift through those?
I mean, I put CF Through-Kates on there as a joke, so I'll just delete that.
We could have a section for like rejected ones. Rejects, please don't raise these again. These are tombstoned.
Like I'm pretty sure there is at least a dozen software projects named after a variation of the word Pegasus. Like it's such a common name.
Yeah.
It's one of the more graceful mythological creatures.
I've seen at least a griffin. Right. I don't know if it's in the cloud native space, but I've definitely seen a griffin. There's also a brand called Griffin, I think. The other ones, they all look relative. Scala sounds exactly like the programming language.
We could strike that one because it's going to be.
Yeah.
And Scopilos sounds exactly like Scopio, which is another container-related tool for container images, I think, from Google. Spork is some sort of Java testing framework, maybe. No, it's a Groovy testing framework. Yeah. So some of those can just go because they're just very easy to.
I put Turkey, but I think it's trademarked.
So any Greek gods will have been used at least 6 times each.
How about we just strike through any entries on the list that we think are not going to be good candidates, just to mark them as tombstoned, so they don't come up again. Like, oh, did you think about this? Yeah, we thought about it and deleted it.
Yeah.
I would say maybe not
through?
hippocampus. I think it's Command Shift X in Google Docs. I would say hippocampus. I mean, it's a well-known part of the brain, so maybe not that. It's also long.
Yeah.
I think I didn't see Dennis in here before. I think Dennis jumped in the middle of our discussion, so just to bring up the speed, if anyone else joined up as well, we're talking about first topic, which is project naming. We would like to move to a name that is a little more catchy, pronounceable, discussable than CF8s controllers. So that is what we're talking about right now, is how do we actually arrive at a name, brainstorming.
Is the list available somewhere?
Yes, it's a Google document that I believe Chris dropped in
I just dropped it in the chat.
Sorry, yeah. Okay, thank you.
All good. So it's got a bunch of stuff on it right now, but feel free to throw things in.
Did you put Zero Dawn Horizons on it?
I did not. Despite my enthusiasm, I did not. So I guess I could go through the various subcomponents there of the AI, which would probably, actually, some of it would be this list. But yeah. I'm liking that we're already making some movement on this list, whittling it down. All right. If we don't have more discussion on that at the moment, then we should probably move along to the next topic. But feel free to look at the document later, make some additions, comments, and all that stuff. So next topic on the list is a follow-up regarding the Cloud Foundry Foundation Governing Board presentation on February 23rd.
Yeah, just wanted to see if we knew who might want to give that. I think 1 or 2 people would be, appropriate. It's 2 weeks from tomorrow, and yeah, there's just going to be the governing board, which is 4 people, myself and Ram. So informal as far as governing boards go, but it'll be nice for them to get a glimpse of what things are looking like right now. At that point, if we have a short list of names, that would be nice to let them know what those are as well. Maybe they have some input. So yeah, just wanted to know if I knew who that might be, so I can get them an invite to the meeting and whatnot.
I don't think we've completely settled on that yet, but we can probably make a choice pretty quickly. I don't think that'll be.
Yeah, just let me know. It's not urgent, but if you can let me know by next week or something, so I can get that invite squared away and connect with whoever that's going to be directly.
Cool. I think that sounds totally reasonable. We can do that. I think we already have like a generalized idea of a couple people that would be willing to do it. So
excellent. Thank you.
I mean, I think by default, it should probably be the working group leads, unless there's other folks that really want to do it.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it. I'm happy to do it. Maybe I don't have as much context as other people on the things that are not authentication, but I think I can put up something if it's necessary. If there's people who are keen to do it, then I think I'm still happy to join the meeting. But if someone wants to give the presentation, someone else wants to give the presentation, can also be done.
Tentatively, we could probably say 1 person from the European time zone, 1 person from American time zone probably would be a good mix. But we can discuss further.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cool. So yeah, I'll put a note down to make sure that we get you that information by next week. And then moving along, we have a proposal updates ? With a link to the GitHub project.
Yeah, I put this on here because I felt like last time we had talked about wanting to make it a routine that we reviewed these, at least with the group. So I didn't have any particular questions myself, but I wanted to put this out here because I think we've got a proposal sitting out there in review, as well as I think one coming up in draft. And I wasn't sure if anybody was interested in looking at those and talking through them. So I figured I'd put this on here as a spot for anybody who wanted to. So.
Yeah, I think we've added one about the testing style. So it's mostly about how we like our Ginkgo test suites to be written, like, because there's many ways to do it, but we have like a specific style that we like. So we put it out there so that if everyone agrees, we can all converge on some sort of style so that all our tests kind of look the same. I see it's still in the draft. I know there is I think there was May Georgi working on it. So I don't know if it's ready to review.
It is. I think we collected some feedback in our time zone, but we were also curious. Like, it's a starting point, so we'd like to start a conversation. Maybe I should change to another column, like basically change the status.
Yeah, just drag it under review. I'll do it now. Okay.
Yeah, just do it. Maybe that explains why we got some eye emojis but no comments. But my plan was to pretty much raise it next week so that people have time to look at it, put some comments. And I guess also the plan is to have one more about, so this one is just about testing style, like how to write the code, what to do, what to avoid doing. And the other one will be one about how to structure the test suite. It will be probably a harder one. That's why we started with the low-hanging fruit, but I guess we should sync with Matt next week at some point before drafting that one.
Cool.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Matt mentioned it. It's on his radar. He was out like pretty sick last week, but yesterday he mentioned he'd be thinking about it this week.
Yeah, and if it's ready for review, we can also drop it in Slack to see if anyone else that's not on this call or in direct contact with us frequently has any thoughts. But just as
that's what I did actually. I did drop it on Slack, but I forgot to drag it, I guess, to the proper column.
Cool. Yeah, then I'll definitely take a look at this. I like, as an initial glance, I like to see a bunch of examples. I actually know a little bit more visually what's going on. So that looks good. I'll just have to take a look through it.
The oopsie proposal, it's been there for a while. Do we feel like it's been approved? Like, I think I've read it and added some comment. Do we want some more comments? Do we want to prod people again to read it?
It's like, I think it's a problem with no one is assigned to be a formal approver, because it's like this one has been out there for like over a month now. It's actually underway in development, and it's gotten a significant amount of like commentary and feedback that we've adopted in it. So like I think it's like informally approved, but we just need folks to like say it is. One thing I was actually thinking about is I saw that Google Docs has a new feature where you can like assign approvers, and like they can like use the Google Doc like interface to approve and stuff. I'm wondering maybe if we could like figure out a way to like figure out a subset of people that are like the final approvers or whatever for new proposals at least.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I think this was what happened with pretty much every other proposal until one day I literally went through all of them and I was like, okay, this is already implemented, so it's been approved just de facto, and this as well, this we've rejected a long time ago, and I just dragged them all into either approved or rejected. And it's happening again with this. It's like, oh, everyone comments, but no one wants to take the responsibility to change the status to approved. but now that we're already implementing it, we might as well do it. Like it's effectively been approved by the fact that it's been already worked on. So we can just approve it. And in the future, yeah, it might make sense to, if there is features in Google Docs that allow us to assign it to people, then we could do it. We just pick someone who like reviews all the feedback and decides, okay, there is agreement. Tick.
Cool. That sounds good. And thank you for the aforementioned hygiene of cleaning up all the stuff up. Obviously, someone had to get it done. So thanks for doing that. So yeah, let's look through these proposals and try to walk the walk and make sure we either approve them or reject them or move it along the pipeline a bit.
So I'm gonna do it for this, right? I'm just going to. Boom, done.
Sounds good. All righty. Well, that brings us to the end of the topics list we have for today. We do have some interesting things to think about to carry over for the next week. But I'm going to open the floor at this point if anyone has any last minute thoughts that they want to throw in as topics or just commentary, or say hi if you haven't been here before, or whatever you feel like.
Just a minor follow-up from last week. There were those 6 IRENE repositories that were keen to move over to Cloud Foundry. I forget exactly how we left that at the last meeting. Was I supposed to follow up with someone? Someone's supposed to follow up with me?
Yeah, so we took a look at them, and they're basically all repositories that we do need to keep IRENE alive, like both the IRENE controller, which is the one that is consumed by our shim, but also the old IRENE incarnation, which was the one that was communicating with the cloud controller in the old CFF Governing Board. So the answer is we need these repositories around as long as we need CFF Governing Board around, basically, because I don't know what we have decided for CFF Governing Board, but they should just follow the same fate. Like if we decide to get rid of the CFF Governing Board stuff, then that stuff can go with it, most of it at least. Like as long as we need CFF Governing Board around, I guess we need those repositories, because just in case we want to, I don't know, fix a bug or whatever, CI is there and the code base is there and everything is there.
Okay, cool. So I could open a pull request to have those officially added to the working group charter. And then I can go ahead and transfer those over anytime.
Is CFF Governing Board part of the working group charter?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yes, because like again, like if it's not, or if it's part of a different working group, then most of them belong there. Yeah. I guess IRENE. So there is the IRENE controller, and I guess some stuff is shared between controller and not controller. So it's a bit tricky. The boundary is not super clear. But yeah, most of those repositories only make sense for the old CFF Governing Board version of IRENE.
Right.
So they should probably be sit next to CFF Governing Board. Although, yeah, I don't know which working group they are under now and which people are maintaining them, etc. If they are being maintained.
Do you actually need IRENE staging in the IRENE Helm release anymore, even for CFF Governing Board?
We could maybe there's stuff that we can get rid of.
I think IRENE staging was only being used by kubecf and it's dead, I believe.
That could be, yeah. So that maybe that one can just die.
I think so. And the IRENE Helm release just doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. So let's do this. We will figure out the ones that we can just kill, right? Maybe by the end of the week or by next week. And the other ones, again, we need to figure out, like, the other ones will have to go with CFF Governing Board, I guess.
Okay, perfect.
And I'll maybe, I don't know, shoot a message somewhere to clarify the situation. I guess we'll have with a pair, which I will have to sit down and assess because it's been a while.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you.
Cool. Well then, I think we'll probably wrap this one up then. I encourage anyone to come back in 2 weeks. I'll try to drop some information about the whole naming situation so we can get some more movement, try to solicit some feedback on that for the next meeting in 2 weeks. Otherwise, thanks for attending and have a good rest of your day, week, and all that good stuff.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
You.
Bye.